Advised. Strong statement. Joining me now with reaction, former Alaska governor, Fox News contributor Sarah Palin. All right, before we get to that, which is just insane, North Korea, we knew this was coming. You know, it seems like the president reminds me of Jimmy Carter. He'd draw a line in the sand, they cross over, it draws another line in the sand. I really mean it this time. Yeah. What's he going to do?
These threats, these sanctions, when it comes to dealing with other countries, too. I think it's illustrating that our own foreign policy is becoming murkier and messier by the day, and people are really craving that peace through strength, pursuit and success of Ronald Reagan's. We don't have that today, and it really is, though, getting people a little bit more enthused about figuring out what our foreign policy really is when it comes to dealing with North Korea and their threats, and Iran and others out there, and just the desire for some positive change in the, in the foreign policy
When you
direction.
put this all together, how is it that I, as a talk show host, had a much better idea of what would happen with the Arab Spring in Egypt and the rise of radical Islamists and the Muslim Brotherhood, and the president gets it completely wrong.
Right.
You know, he's gotten it completely wrong. He's pressuring Israel not to strike against Iran, even though their very security is in jeopardy. And it seems like the world doesn't really respect President Obama.
Well, and because President Obama, he had his chance with the Green Revolution that was happening in Iran, where America could have spoken for those who were seeking freedom and some basic God-given liberties, and Obama took a pass on that, and yet did interject himself on some other kind of nebulous policy calls of other countries. We've interjected ourselves there, where a lot of Americans are saying, why are we so inconsistent with our policy and with our interventions?
All right, so here we had, over the years, we've had people like James Carville and Nancy Pelosi, and they keep referring to the Republican war against women. President injects himself in the Sandra Fluke controversy, gives her a call, highly publicized. Then all of a sudden he's confronted with a quandary and a moral dilemma, and that dilemma is, oh, Bill Maher, who called you very offensive names, attacked your family and children, attacked Rick Santorum's children, he donates $1 million to the president. Now they don't return the money. Now all of a sudden, have you ever received a phone call? Has your daughter ever received a phone call from the president?
Never received a phone call, but I think that's, again, more of the same, of the inconsistencies, the double standards, the divisiveness that is kind of represented by President Obama and the people he surrounds himself with. Look at the class warfare that's being called. Look at what's going on today with Hillary Rosen. She who has the ear of the president, who is advising the Democrat Party and making such disrespectful comments about a woman who has made a very honorable choice to stay home and do the toughest job, the most important job there is, and that's raising good kids.
And by the way, and she's fought cancer, and she's battled against MS, and she's raised 5 great kids that are contributing to society. But just think of this phrase, never worked a day in her life. Now, look, I know I have my wife, I have many friends and their wives. Let's see, they got to get the kids off to school, they got to organize their activities, get them to the doctor, get them to the dentist, get them to do their homework, make them behave, or try and get them to behave, get them into bed at night. It's a full-time job.
Well, the comments that Hillary Rosen made today certainly have awakened many mama grizzlies across the nation, and I know that because I got a lot of emails today, a lot of text messages from apolitical girlfriends, some who have chosen to stay home over the years, some for financial reasons, others finances weren't really a factor in their choice to stay home. And the message seems to be, why is it that some on the left choose to divide, to incite with comments like that, instead of just respecting women's choices and what they want to do with the gifts that God has given them, how they want to contribute, because we all have opportunity to contribute to this nation.
But it got 2 shots in at one, because they got a shot in at the class warfare issue, which the president has been hammering home, and then they tried to take a shot on Republicans on women, just like in the Sandra Fluke case, and then having to deal with the Bill Maher controversy, which was ensuing. It seems that it backfires. Oh, yeah. The strategy doesn't seem to be working.
Well, they're underestimating the wisdom of the people. And the people, in this case, a lot of moms, a lot of women are saying, hey, you overplayed your hand on that one. Let me share with you a quick text that my sister had sent to me. She said, oh, wait, didn't these people slam you, who are the same ones slamming Ann Romney because she stayed at home with her 5 kids? Didn't they slam you for not staying at home with your 5 kids? My sister goes on to say, it's obviously not a mom thing they're slamming. It's a conservative conservative thing that they're
It's well said, because wasn't the argument at the time, how could you possibly raise children and be the vice president at the same time?
Yeah, but see, they really have overplayed their hand on that one. Very sad, very real commentary, though, on those who want to invalidate a woman based on the choice that she is making, whether she is staying home and working her butt off in that house or working very hard at home in addition to being able to have a paycheck outside of the home.
But it's interesting, too, that conservative women have been subjected to the worst attacks, the most vile names that they have been called. Sadly for you, at the top of the list. And their voices have been silent, starting with the president, who lectures us about the coarseness of the language and the lack of civility in the culture. But he never speaks out when it's a conservative woman being attacked, and this happens with regularity.
Yeah, so we don't look to our president to speak for us, and we will, we will be silent no more on an issue like this. Really, it is, as I say, a sad commentary, though, on this attempt to invalidate a woman for the choices that she's making, when really we should be unified. All women should be standing up for each other when you consider what's going on in this country. All women and all races and all ages, we are all suffering under Obama's economy, and we need to make some changes.
I thought liberals were pro-choice, so you got to make their choice.
Now, here's the deal. Here's the hypocrisy. They are not for women's choices and equality and respecting a woman's personal values or choices she wants to make, unless it has to do with that woman embracing their radical left agenda.
All right, we're going to take a break. I want to ask you about Mitt Romney, the campaign, how you see it as we move forward. We'll have much more with Governor. All right, we continue now with former Alaska Governor, Fox News contributor Sarah Palin. Great to have you in New York. I found this quote, considering, Obama's, it's unfortunate, whatever his benign comments were. This is Barack Obama in May of 2008 on Good Morning America. Watch this as he talks about his wife, Michelle.
The GOP, should I be the nominee, I think can say whatever they want to say about me, my track record. If they think that they're going to try to make Michelle an issue in this campaign, they should be careful, because that I find unacceptable. The notion that you start attacking my wife or my family, Michelle is the most honest, the best person I know. She is one of the most caring people I know. She loves this country, and for them to try to distort or to play snippets of her remarks in ways that are unflattering to her, I think is just low class. And I think most of the American people would think that as well. Whoever is in charge of the Tennessee GOP needs to think long and hard about the kind of campaign that they want to run, and I think that's true for everybody, Democrat or Republican.
We're trusting that the American voters are ready to talk about the issues and not talking about the things that have nothing to do with making people's lives better.
But I also think these folks should lay off my wife. All right?
Lay off my wife, low class, unacceptable. Is this the type of campaign you want to run? Why didn't he say that about the attack on Governor Romney's wife?
That is the perfect soundbite, I think, that you just showed, that shows that double standard. I think there's legitimacy in that conversation that he had there, speaking about his wife, that she's an intelligent woman. It's unfortunate, though, that the man that she married has been so unserious and unintelligent when it comes to the policies that should be implemented to get our country back on the right track.
All right, let's talk about the campaign. And you're convinced Mitt Romney's it now? Do you think it's pretty much over?
Well, let me put it this way. I don't want Newt to drop out. I don't want Ron Paul to drop out, because I want debate still on the ideas that both of the other candidates have been able to espouse and explain to the country. I want Ron Paul's message about cutting the budget, about the economic woeful times that we are in and what we can do about it. I want those to continue to be discussed, and Newt has some good ideas too.
Are you convinced, because you spoke about this at an earlier time during the primary, are you convinced, as time has gone on, that Governor Romney will govern as a solid, strong conservative, or do you still have doubts?
I am convinced that Governor Romney, if he is our nominee and if he is elected president, he will know to surround himself with those who inherently know to go right, to err on the side of smaller, smarter government, and that gives me a lot of comfort.
I asked you the last time who would be a good VP choice. You said to go rogue. You mentioned one name was Allen West.
Yes.
I spoke to him since then and told him about your endorsement as a possible choice. He said he would accept. if asked. Who else would be a good choice for Governor Romney if he's the nominee?
I tell you, Sean, there is a long list. It is a deep bench of those, and not necessarily do you have to be a politician to be considered a good potential candidate for VP. Maybe somebody who just knows how to make a payroll and meet a budget and knows how to help create jobs in the private sector. Someone of that ilk should be considered, perhaps.
How about you for Energy Secretary?
Oh, you know energy is my baby. And today we got to work on some energy issues that will air tomorrow night with Eric Bolling on Paying at the Pump special for Fox. And, you know, it's a segment of our economy where we have so much potential. God has just dumped resources underfoot, and we're not responsibly exploiting them.
How do you fight back against the class warfare, the negativity, the attacks, which I think will define this campaign? I think the president that talked about, we're not a red America, blue America, we're the United States of America. There's going to be a very different campaign. What is the best way to fight back?
Well, we have to fight back, and people have got to be aware that America cannot afford 4 more years of what we have been under, what has been done to America with this fundamental transformation of our great country that we had been promised in the campaign and now is coming to fruition. And that's why we have high unemployment. That's why we have outrageous energy prices that are just going to keep increasing. We have all of these problems that have got to be faced as one united America. We have got to get back to the Constitution being the blueprint towards that more perfect union. And if we elect constitutional, common sense conservatives who understand that government is not the answer.
But you got to fight.
We have to fight. We cannot retreat. As my dad says all the time, he tells me personally, Sarah, don't retreat, reload. That's what we have to tell the people of America. That's not inciting violence. It's telling people in the arena of ideas and at the ballot box, you reload, you get those people in there who understand what the Constitution is all about, how to defend our republic.
Governor, always good to see you in New York. Thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate it. And